Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. There's Porter. Okay, came across a small problem. The customer says that the outlet works sometimes and sometimes it don't. Now, when I checked it, I didn't have any power, but then I checked over here, there's a switch. Now, white and black, that's okay, because they're using Romex. So when I put the testers on here, I get some weird readings. So I kind of, that tells me I got an open line. I got an open line right there. Or, well, continuity, I should say. When I hit that, it stops. So that should turn the switch on if it's up. And now I got an open line. But then they said the switch works. So then I go to the second one. Let's put these prongs in the second top one here. And you're gonna see something weird. So that tells me that they wired it wrong. So I got that plugged in, negative and positive. Now, when I hit the switch is on. When I hit the switch off, I get power. No power. Is the switch upside down? Let's check and see if the switch is upside down. Because if the switch is upside down, that might explain some of that. Let's take a quick peek before we go any further. Make sure the on is the on and the off is the off, because the switch could have been upside down. Let's get a quick look at it. Oh yeah, it is upside down. Look at that. So the actually switch is upside down. So the reason why the off was the on and the on was the off, the switch was upside down. So let's flip this switch right side up and see if that makes a difference as far as the operation of everything. But that doesn't explain why you got open line on the bottom one though. So now that's the proper position the switch should be. Now when I turn it on, I got power. Okay, cool. Now let's go see if we got power on the bottom one. And now if we got power on the bottom one, then we solve the issue. Nothing on the bottom. That's still weird, huh? Nothing on the bottom. So let's shut this off, because we know it's on. Let's shut it off. Still nothing on the bottom. So I think they got something. They still got something wired up, kind of screwy, because the bottom should be on. Just hit the power one more time on. Now you got open line. Well, not open line, but keep saying open line. This is continuity. So you got something touching something else. So I'm gonna open this up and see what we got going on inside here. Figure this out. Let me see if I can just take a quick. Let me see if I can set this down and figure out what the heck they did wrong in here. Because something's just not working the way it's supposed to be working. And to get a good angle so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, right about there should be good, right? Yeah, I guess you can see what I'm doing there. I'm gonna take this bad boy out and see what we got going on here. Who knows what they did? They might have crossed the neutral and thought it was something else. So I got a bunch of wires here. Got my pigtail with my black and white. A
allegedly this is supposed to be ground, this is supposed to be neutral. So let's see what we got here. One of these is supposed to be a live wire. I'm assuming this one is. We'll go to ground. We got power to ground, so we know that's ground. No power to, oh, we got power to neutral. No power to neutral. Oh, so they split the tab. They broke the tab. So this should be constant power. Let's see what we got up here. We got power there. Power there. That's for the top. Now for the bottom, no power. Switch is on and no power for the bottom. So we could have a bad switch. Could have a bad switch over here. But the switch controlled it, so it can't be a bad switch. The switch actually controlled this. We got our neutral. Let's do this again. We got our neutral, we got our power. We got power there. We got power on ground. We don't have power on the bottom side of this one. And the question is, how's this wired up in here? We got a white wire going to neutral, assuming that this is where the power is coming from. So this power goes to neutral, power comes here, feeds to your switch, come back to your switch, controls this. So this one, if this is correct, this should be constant power right here. So this should be constant power to neutral. Let's see. And that's constant power to neutral. No constant power to neutral. So something that can't be right. That's not right, because there's no constant power to neutral. No ground. No constant power. So this can't be the switch leg. So this neutral this can't be the switch leg. And if that is the switch leg, then this one's, so if this is the switch wire, then these two will be the in and out, and that's not right. And if these two are the switch wire, this will be the in, the white one here will be the in, and the black one will be the out here, which still is wrong. Because you don't go to your switch from your neutral, you go to your switch from your power on the white and come back on. And this should be taped. If this switch is being used, if this white wire is being used as a power, it should be taped black. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna separate all this to figure out what they got going on here. They got some kind of mumbo jumbo that don't quite make sense. I think they just crisscrossed one neutral wire or one black wire and got them on the wrong side. So let's get all this unraveled and see what we have going on here. Keep in mind the power is on, so you don't want to start doing crazy stuff with it. You just want to separate all this so we can get separate wires. So now, this is one part of the Romex, this is the other part of the Romex. Now, if this is the switch leg of the Romex, I should get continuity with the switch up. I should get continuity between this one and this one. I get power. So this is the live side. That's my live side right there. So this neutral should be down here. They got the neutral in the wrong spot. So if I'm getting power between these two right here, this can't be a switch leg. They put the neutral in the wrong spot. This neutral has to be down there. Let's get that neutral off of there. And don't use these stab connectors. See these stab connectors here? See how loose that is? Look at that. That's an arc. I mean, I could probably wiggle this right out of there. You don't want to use these things. Yeah. Let's get these out of here and get them put up the right way. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna release all these things. Let's get this one out of here first. Just stick a small screwdriver in there, get it right in that little. You kind of got to push and pull at the same time. Let's get one at a time. Let's get this one out of here first. Get that out of the way. Let's do this one next. Get that one out of there. And this neutral is not really a neutral. It's supposed to be on the switch side, so let's get that out of there. Okay, we get all three of those out of there. So this is my switch side. Now if I go from here to here, these two right here, I should get continuity. And if I get continuity, that's continuity. Hear that little beep? That's continuity. So I know that this is my switch. Now if I shut the switch off, I come back over here, I should get nothing. See that? Now that's open line. But when I go back over here, turn the switch back on, I get continuity. So these are my switch legs, which somebody put the neutral and, I mean, I guess it's an honest mistake, but if you would have wrapped it with black tape, typically what's supposed to happen is when you use a white wire as a traveler for a switch, you're supposed to wrap it or paint it black. So now you know that these are your switch legs.
What I could do, I don't have to do it, but I could get I think I got a magic marker in my pocket. I could probably mark it black with a magic marker if I have one. I think I do. Here we go.
So here we go. You can just put this and just color this black. See that? Now it's black. So when a guy comes in here, electrician or non-electrician, will know that this wire here is supposed to be a traveling wire, not a neutral, not a ground. I had this guy, a friend of mine, call a neutral a ground, and I said that's not a neutral and ground is not the same thing. Neutral is grounded, but it's not a ground. So like, see now you got a black wire. Now people might get confused, man. Well, why is all these black wires in here? Well, I left a little white at the end so you can tell what it is.
All right. So now that's problem solved. Now we know that these are the switch legs. So now this is a split circuit because they broke the tab. When you break that little tab in the middle, that means you want one switch to be controlled. One outlet, one part of the outlet is called a duplex outlet. So one part of the outlet is going to be constant power, and one part of the outlet is going to be switched. Now you can pick and choose which one you want to do, but one of them is going to be switched, and one of them is going to be constant power. So I'm going to choose the bottom one to be constant power. Now, keep in mind that this is my live wire. This one here is your live wire. How do you know? When you put your power here and here, you get power. Power here to here, you get power. So this one here, the one I'm touching, is live. The reason why I'm not being shocked or feeling any buzz because I'm not touching the ground or the neutral at the same time. If I touch this wire by itself, I'm perfectly fine. As long as my shoes or boots or whatever are insulated and I'm not, grabbing a piece of metal on it with the other hand, all that crazy stuff. But this is live, so keep your live wire to one side. That's gonna be the last wire we attach to the circuit. Now we're gonna deal with these switch wires here. So the black wire, it's going to be kind of complicated because I gotta use this pigtail to really make it work the right way. So this pigtail that we had earlier, that we had to disconnect, we're going to tie this pigtail, and I'm going to probably do that last so it doesn't confuse a lot of people. I'm going to tie this pigtail, which is this wire, to this wire, and then to this top terminal. And then the bottom terminal was going to get my switch. So it's a little complicated, but you'll see how I do it. First things first, I'm going to start with my known neutral. This known neutral right here. I know this is my neutral right here.
So I'm gonna put my neutral on the neutral side of the switch, of the receptacle, I should say, or outlet. Some people call it outlet, some people call it receptacles. We're gonna do a little shepherd's hook on here rather than what they did. Just peel a little bit more insulation off the edge of this. Bear with me while I take a little insulation off of this. Okay, got my insulation off as much as I need. I'm gonna put my little shepherd's hook on here. It's like a little hook. It's just about like that. I mean, nothing major. I have to go around the screw.
So now, get the screwdriver out. And
put these my switch legs, keep them over there. I'm gonna open up one of these screws. It doesn't matter top or bottom. I'm gonna pick the bottom, but it doesn't matter because I didn't break the tab off. The tab connects both of these together. On the other side, they broke the tab off, which means it's a split circuit. So it's gonna dictate which one's gonna stay live and which one's gonna be switched. Put your little shepherd's hook around here, nice and gentle. Make sure the insulation is not touching the back of the screw. And you tighten it down. I don't know if you guys can see that, but just tighten this bad boy down right there. Always put the wire clockwise around the screw. So when you tighten the screw, it tightens up around just like that.
so that solves that. That's one thing down.
Now I know this is the one I put magic marker on, so I'm gonna put that one over there. Let me keep these separated so they're not, there we go. So now they're not getting crossed in the box. Now this one, I'm gonna put another shepherd's hook on this one. Now keep in mind, these wires are still dead. The only live wire is this one here, so that's why I'm keeping that one separate. So that way you don't get all mumble jumbled up in there and get all confused what's going on. Always know your live wire if you're working with a live circuit. Now if you don't know, you will find out sooner or later. So we'll do the same thing on here. So
That's just a screw for the
plate there. Let's keep that down there too. So this one, same thing. I'm gonna put the shepherd hook. We'll probably do the bottom. Doesn't really matter which one is switched and which one's not. You can pick and choose whether you want to use the top or the bottom. Some people use the bottom as a switch, some people use the top. I'm gonna pick the top as the live one, and this bottom one's gonna be the switched. I don't think there's any particular way you have to do it. So here we open up this little, I don't like using those stab connectors or jab connectors. They just don't make a good connection. And every so often, if you kind of like daisy chain them together, you'll find one that comes loose and it will interrupt the whole rest of the house because one of those neutrals or live wires came loose. So I'm gonna turn this shepherd's hook this way so it's clockwise around the screw. Kind of get it, here we go, right around there. And just tighten this bad boy up. Now, if you don't feel comfortable, well, you have to work with it live to find out if you got power. So at one point or another, to troubleshoot the circuit, you do have to have live power.
Now, as far as the connections, if you feel uncomfortable with a live wire, you can always go to the breaker and shut it off and get yourself a tester.
I got a pair of old flukes. I had this for about, wow, probably 20 years, and this thing still works. I do have eyes on another pair of flukes, which is a lot better than this with the amp probe on it and everything. I might treat myself to another pair of flukes in the future, but these things it still works. At one point I had a problem with this, and I believe I sent it back to Fluke, and they sent me a brand new one. I don't even know if they make these anymore, but I think I had a problem with that Fluke, and they sent me a brand new one a while back. I'm talking a while back. And so now, this is my live wire. This is my switch wire. So what's gonna happen, I'm gonna try to explain this as best as I can. This is gonna get pigtailed to this, and then this is gonna get pigtailed. All three is gonna be pigtailed together. And then this is gonna go on the terminal here. So first I'm gonna put a little shepherd's hook at the bottom of this. I'm gonna turn a little shepherd's hook right here, so that way I know that this end's going on my terminal. Now keep in mind, now I could either put the terminal on first, like this, and tie all three together, or do it, it doesn't matter, either way you want to do it. So I'm gonna prepare myself. I'm gonna open up this screw, so I can put my shepherd's hook on there. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. You kind of pick the process how you're gonna do it. Ultimately, you're trying to get all this to work as one. I didn't bring my linements. I got my channel locks, which pretty much do the same thing. Linements work a little bit better when you're twisting wires,
because you're supposed to twist them. You're not supposed to just
stick the wires in like this. A lot of people do this. They stick the wires in like this, they turn them all together, boom, 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 and it makes the connection good, but that's not the proper way to do it.
The proper way to do it would be,
let's go like this. Get all three of these wires all about the same length, like so. Get that out the way so it's not touching you. And we'll twist these all three together. So keep it like that. And we're gonna try to twist these all together at the same time. It's gonna be a little challenging, but just gotta take your time and turn them. Get them all twisted together, just like that. One more twist right there. Another one right there. So now you got your pigtail. Get that little tip out of there. Just like that. Now they're all twisted together. Get your wire nut. Now your wire nut, as long as you don't see no copper sticking up the bottom, just nice and snug. We're not snug there. What's going on?
let's see. You should just nothing stuck in the cap. I might have to get another wire nut, but
Let's try this again. Just very good there. All right, so get your wire nut on it.
now, I do know that this is live because I did my process elimination, but just to verify that it's live, I'm gonna go from power to ground or power to neutral, and I should get a buzz. See? Buzz. Buzz. Okay. Now the last step, which is pretty much the last step before you close the box up, is putting this shepherd's hook around this screw. When you hold this, you can hold it like this, but keep in mind this is a grounded piece of metal. So if you happen to touch that and touch this, you will get zapped. So a lot of people make that mistake. Years ago, I used to put the ground on last, which you can do it that way too. Or get a piece, you can get some rubber gloves and hold it like that, or workman's gloves, or just hold it right here. Hold it where the metal is, but keep in mind this. Sometimes there's metal on the side, sometimes, depending on what kind of outlet it is, you got metal on the back plate here. Some of the commercial ones have a metal strap that goes up in the back, so you might be touching metal there. So touch the wire instead. That way you're not touching the metal. So you can touch this all you want, just touch the wire. So now, if I want to turn this, I'll keep my hand separate, turn it with one hand, like that. Or touch the ground like this, or not the ground, but the insulation. Now, when I hook on, let's get that little shepherd's hook in there like we're supposed to. There we go, right in there. Get your screwdriver. Now, most screwdrivers have insulated handles, so when you touch, you're only touching this. You're not touching the actual screw. had a friend of mine that, well, he wasn't a friend of mine, he was a co-worker. And he saw me doing this, and I was using my Gerber pliers, which is uninsulated. He goes, well, I can do that. And I said, you sure? So I told him, I said, just so you know, the power is on. He said, oh yeah, I can do it. Me know. And sure enough, he grabbed this, which is uninsulated. First thing he touched, and I don't know what he touched, but he was doing all this jumping around, and I said, you don't really know. You're saying you know, but you don't know. That's why you're supposed to pay attention. So that's it. We solved this problem. Now, to verify that it's working properly, before I put it back, I'm gonna put my, see that's on. If I hit the switch, it should shut off, right? Off. See that? Turn it back on. Off. So we solved that one. Now this one on top is supposed to be constant, so it doesn't matter whether the switch is on or off. It's a split circuit, constant power. So no matter if I turn the switch on or off, that's gonna keep running. See that? Hit the switch, doesn't matter. So I don't know, I don't think this was an electrician who did this. If it was an electrician who did it, he probably wasn't paying attention. This little tab, well, I put my finger on it because it's live, but there's a tab right here. When you break that tab off, what you need in those pliers, what you're doing is just separating the circuit. And by separating the circuit, you're giving it two options. One to stay on, one to be switched. Or if you were to run two separate circuits entirely, you could break off the neutral tab and have two neutrals and two live wires, where I've seen people do two 20 amp circuits. So say for example, I had one 20 amp circuit that wasn't holding enough, so I needed two 20 amp circuits. I could put a split 20 amp circuit at the bottom. So this would be one separate circuit, this would be one separate circuit. It'd be two complete circuits when I put a neutral and positive and neutral and positive and make it complete. So that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to show you troubleshooting of this. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hello? Alright guys, I'm just going to show you the last part when you put the receptacle back together. And you just basically just push the wires in and just tighten it up. And you don't jam them in there, you kind of gently push them in. So some people take the outlet and they twist the whole thing around. I've seen that done. Some people fold the wires. I like to fold them corner to corner, so I tuck them in like this. Push my index finger as far as I can go. And if I see this thing, I push this up in the top like this. Like that, so I know that's gonna go in there. Push it back as far as you can get it back in there. And then I take these wires and just kind of fold them down and up. So whatever how they go with the box, they go push them down and up and back in there like that. The object of it is to get the wires in there without breaking nothing, without shorting nothing out. Now if you push too hard, and say for example, I don't know, I've seen people push so hard on a wire that they pierce the black wire into the copper wire and short it out, something like that. Or if you had a metal box and you jammed it so tight into the box that the screw shorted out the wire or something. I've seen some weird stuff people do. So the most important thing is you want to just take your time. Oops, hitting my two wires together over there, which is not good. That just tells me that my device is working. Get these kind of lined up. Make sure they're lined up the right way here. Don't want to cross thread the hose. So once you get one started, I like to start a few turns on the top. And I start a few on the bottom, just to make sure I'm pulling it in nice and even.
And that's pretty much how you troubleshoot the you always tighten it up as close as you can get to the sheetrock. I'm going to tighten this one up too. This is pretty basic, so this is, it's just, you got to know how electricity works, the flow of electricity, and what it's supposed to do, and all the components. Let's make sure that thing is snug, but trying to get that right there. Tighten this one up a little bit. Look like we're snug right there. Okay, now we can put this back on. I guess we're good to go. One happy customer. And then I noticed the switch was upside down, so I put that switch right side up. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you see something I did wrong, or I did something right, or if I missed a step, let me know. Some people do wrap the wire nut with tape. I noticed that some people do that. And some people do wrap the outlet with tape. Me, I don't typically do it, especially if it's in a plastic box. But some of the new timers, they will do it. Various reasons. So when you touch the sides, you don't get shocked, or if a wire comes loose, it don't hit the side of the box. There's a couple of reasons why they wrap it with tape. What else they do? There's some other stuff that people do, but sometimes you will see people use a lot of tape. They go tape crazy, wrap the thing 4 times with tape, wrap the wire nut with tape. You don't really have to do that if the wire nut is on there correctly and properly. I don't think they even require you to do that, to be honest with you. But it can't hurt to do it, put it that way. It won't be wrong if you did it. Years ago, when they used to do the solder connections, they used to solder these connections together, then put the wire nut on. Or sometimes they never even used the wire nut, just wrapped it with tape. I mean, then they put a ton of tape on it, and I think they use that cloth. Some people use cloth tape, and some people have the rubber tape. So now things are so modernized now. They even got those waggles out there. Some people buy those waggle connectors where they just plug them in. I don't use those waggles. They are kind of a little expensive. Wire nuts are fine. You don't need those waggles. You could try them. I mean, it's your choice. But that's what we got. And outlet is done. I'm gonna put this back in, tighten this up, which is just 2 screws. Push the wires in. Try to see if I can do this one-handed, which might not be as easy as said. Try to do this one-handed. Maybe I could do it one-handed. I'm not even a lefty, but I'm doing pretty good. Be surprised what you can do when you really try to do it, huh? I should be doing this with my right hand, but it's all good. So now, just a matter of tightening up the screws. Let me go get my screwdriver and tighten that up. Sorry to make this video longer than it should be, but figure my daughter always say, "Dad, why don't you do more fix-it videos?" And the other day I was working on the dryer at the house, and I fixed the dryer. One of the wires came loose on the connection on the back. But sometimes you just don't have time to do this. You know, you just trying to jump into something. I could tell this is an old switch because it's a slotted screw. So this is definitely an older switch. All the new screws now, they don't really have slots. They're Phillips / slotted, but this is strictly slotted. So this is probably an old switch, probably built in the maybe 80s or late 90s.
Alright, so we got our switch tightened up. Make sure these are snug, so you don't want them moving around up in there. Always gotta have patience. Patience is very important. At first I thought the switch might have been, well, it was wrong, but this was upside down too, which I didn't think to look at. But let's grab these 2 screws and the plate. This is where it'd be good to have a helper, because you can have your helper do a lot of this. And you could just make sure they're doing it the right way. And I'll try to put 1 screw in. One screw there, another screw there, and then we're good to go. Just make sure, always make sure that you can get a couple of turns off the screw so you don't cross thread it. Because if you can't easily turn it for the first couple of turns, more likely you might have the screw cross thread. Then you gotta, re-tap and die the screw, and it's more of a pain in the neck to do that. Just take your time, do it the right way. So we get the switch back. They got this split outlet, which is going to work fine because we tested it out. That's back in service, so we're good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. If you see something that I could have done better, or I missed, or I didn't explain thoroughly. One more thing before I leave. This is a 15 amp circuit. Just so you know, it should be a 15 amp circuit based off of the outlet. When you see 2 outlets, like one bigger, which is the neutral on one side, which is this side, the positive is on this side, and the ground here, this one's always bigger. The neutral is always bigger than this one. Now, if this was a 20 amp circuit, right at this little thing, it'd be like a little kind of T there, like an intersection. That'll tell you that's a 20 amp circuit, but this is a 15 amp circuit. So if you have 12 gauge wire, you need a 20 amp circuit. You have a 20 amp circuit. You should have a 20 amp circuit. Always go by the breaker. The breaker dictates the circuit. So even though you have a bigger wire, if the breaker is smaller, then you got to kind of go by what the breaker says. Now, however, you could put 12 gauge wire on a 15 amp circuit, but you can't put 14 gauge wire on a 20 amp circuit. So don't do it. Just keep the wire and the breaker and the circuit all together consistent. That way you don't confuse nobody. Until next time, guys, Nez Porter. Catch you on the next one.